Welcome back to your star sign for the month of May, Taurus. Let's see what's coming through for you. We'll cover first the energy of what is coming through with the planets, what's happening in the stars, and then into your star sign, where we'll break down your romance house, your career, your wellness, your wealth, and more. Now, as we do move into the month, we do have some big boy transits happening. The second eclipses always happen in sets, being a full moon in Scorpio at 15 degrees. And then by the time Mercury goes direct, we will have a new moon in Taurus. So big transitions happening in the domain of Taurus for all zodiac signs, including for you. Now, I will break the eclipse down in much greater detail for you and how it can link to various areas of your life. As well as we do move into the month, we are having our first Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Later in the year, it's going to be transitioning back into Capricorn, which can feel a little bit karmic and like a, blast from the past, deja vu frequency going on. But we'll cover that closer to the transit, or follow me via my website at yildizreadings.com for more insight by zodiac sign free of charge. Mercury does go direct by the 15th. It'll be shadow direct. So until then, really the first half of the month can be a little bit testing, confusing, revisiting some of these things. It's almost like ironing out the creases. It's a little bit like you think all your ducks are in a row and then everything goes bedlam. I do find it's like a pressure cooker test. So all of this Taurian energy that is going on, especially in the Mercury domain, there's going to be a lot of intellectual thoughts, a lot of comings and goings, a lot of transformation, especially with the IT industry. A really good time to update your passwords, really good time to make sure that you are understanding what other people are saying, especially because you're Taurus in nature. There can be some crosswires that happen, but definitely we will link this to your zodiac sign and what I see coming through for you. Jupiter also is going to be exiting Aries on the 6th, from the 16th, and will be entering the house of Taurus for its next cycle. Now, this is going to be quite large for you and your zodiac sign because Jupiter is expanding your horizons. Venus is currently in the house of Gemini. Now, this placement, especially for your zodiac sign, can particularly be a time where crosswires can happen, self-esteem situations can crop up. It's almost like, do I say something? Don't I say something? It's Venus in nature, but you're going to want to communicate freely. But because we do currently have Mercury retrograde, crosswires can occur. And also can be that you're wanting to have more autonomy and freedom in particular areas of your life. And the things that you like can be quite Venusian in style. This may be a time where you want to make those changes. It could be best to leave it till we do have the transits move direct mid-month, but we'll get into that shortly. Venus is going to be entering the house of Cancer. This also can bring about a more gentle approach. It can bring about more love and understanding, but it could also really come through in an expression sense for your zodiac sign in particular, where you're expressing how you feel to do with things. It can be hurts, pains, upsets. You also could be very empathetic and understanding towards individuals. And you may love to communicate with particular groups, especially when it does come to family and tribe. Mars is sitting in the house of Cancer also, and that's going to be until the 20th. A lot of us were feeling earlier in the year, we had Mars sitting in the house of Gemini for quite a while from August last year. When it exited stage, many were very happy. Not only do we feel with Mars when it's retrograde deeply fatigued, deeply unmotivated and confused about what way to go. So that was adding a layer that was very difficult. It then entered the house of Cancer, which is deemed in its detriment. So you don't get the best out of this position, but yet again, it was a break from that Gemini axis. I do particularly feel with this, we're going to have to navigate our emotions as effectively as possible, but we can be very obsessed. Mars can make us obsessive in these particular departments. And this also can be with the things that you've got to do, the things you're thinking about. You may feel a little bit of a worrywart at the moment. You also can find that where it does come to emotions, feelings, stress will be high. So finding ways to both be assertive and understanding can be a little bit difficult until the 20th. Now, as it enters the house of Leo, it sits nicer in this position. Again, it will be quite an intellectual energy. And it's almost like the hero's journey. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. It's going to be very bold, and this can be really around maybe your home, your domain, how you feel, your emotions. It's a better position. Let's just put it that way. Into your star sign, without further ado, take a breath, grab a cuppa, and we're going to break down your romance house and all the other areas of your life I see coming through for you. Now, Taurus, as I mentioned for your zodiac, as we move into the beginning of the month, the first moon we have is going to be an eclipse in Scorpio. This for you does link to your seventh house. We also will have Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, two key themes are going to come up. It could be your purpose. Where am I going? What am I doing for my career? What is my part in this circumstance? And there already is the signature of romance coming up. Now, we do have currently the North Node in Taurus, the South Node in Scorpio. So it was really where the flashlight was on you. And it was like, how do you feel about this? What is going on with you? What part do you have in your romance partners and contracts? And really by shifting that attention onto yourself, you are going to be able to, in the long run, see how all your other most intimate connections were going to balance for you. This situation is coming to a crossroad head as we do reach the eclipse. The eclipse is going to be bringing up subjects in your marriages, contracts, partnerships. It is going to give you another opportunity to review them and to see where it's come. Now, it's interesting that it's Scorpio and Pluto is retrograde, which is quite Scorpionic in nature. So some secrets can come to the forefront. Some hidden emotions or agendas or feelings can come to the surface. What it is going to signature is a brand new chapter in these areas. Now, can we look at this negatively? Or we could, if you're in a very toxic relationship in your life, absolutely had a gutful. This could be a time where you actually say to yourself, look, I need to put my foot down. I'm going in a different direction. For some of you, it can be that a brand new chapter with both of you is coming up. Those of you that are single, it can also mark a signature of a blast from the past returning and a brand new cycle. The next moon phase, which will be further in the month, for your zodiac will be the new moon in Taurus. Now, I always call a first house placement the Emperor's new clothes. Your identity, your role, how you are is going to shift. Now, can you go through this month feeling like you want to change your image? 100%, especially because Mercury's retrograde. I always say, especially with those Venusian energies, it's not necessarily a good time to do them right away. I would more than likely, if you can, wait until mid-month where it's going direct. You're going to have a better result, and it's not going to be based on, and I don't even like to use that analogy, but the very first one, spiritually speaking, when we cut our hair, it is a signature of wanting to cut something away from ourselves that no longer resonates. And Brittany years ago cut her hair. It was like she was cutting that signature off. She's like, right, I don't resonate with this anymore. And so it was this frustration really inside of one's soul that is trying to express that. And I've seen it with various celebrities where they're like, look, seriously, this is where I'm at. And that can come up. I do see at the moment, Leo is really going through that as well. It is Venusian in nature, but it's always, always something that spiritually is going on inside first. So give your soul the grace to sit with that first, and then allow as it moves direct, you can go, okay, what is that new vibe? What is that new look I want to go for? I've had time to meditate upon it. It's like saying yes to the dress. You want to really know what that's going to be before you jump in the deep end and commit. So allow your soul that. Make a border, make all the to-do things that you want to do. Um, as a signature. It can be a heightened emotional time, but it can be extremely exciting. It is, after all, a new moon, a new chapter, and Jupiter by then will be in the house of Taurus. So you will be going in bold new directions. Now, love for you, as I mentioned, through the eclipse and the moon energy, it already is coming up in a signature point for you. Big question marks, big statement pieces, big changes are going to come up to the surface. They can be, for those of you that are in partnerships or single, situations with your children going on for those of you that have children. There also could be surprise pregnancies. There could be scare pregnancies, things that are to that agenda. So be careful if that's something you're not quite ready for. Separately, I do particularly see crosswise can occur in love. Okay, so you're going to have to be patient with that. Miscommunication, misunderstandings. You personally could get up in your head. You also may have some revelations about how people see you and what those things are, as I mentioned back with the Emperor's New Clothes edition. Now, what I mean by that is when we go through, it can feel like an existential crisis, but it's a new moon happening in your zodiac. Mercury will be direct in Taurus, which can be your routine, your diet, your health, you're wanting to review, you're wanting to change, but it's also how you show up in society. So sometimes it can be a bitter pill to swallow. If somebody said something to us and we think, gee, is that really true? And especially when it comes to the interlinking of connections, having that revelation that there's no I in team, a connection directly is a team. How do we vibe together? How do we work together? Some things of behavioral patterns and habits that people see in us, and when they tell us, sometimes we don't even know those things are there. So by no means am I saying you are a negative individual. I'm saying don't be surprised if somebody brings something to your attention during this time and it can cut really deeply. So sit with it and say, hey, okay, how does this relate to me? What part in this do I have? Is this resonating true or is it directly a projection? And then you can navigate that so much better, which is going to give you support in your romantic sector. During this time, you're also going to find people from the past can be coming back and really valuing you, be it it's an apology, be it it's a revelation on how they feel about you. This can be a positive time for you, but I definitely see that there's going to be directional shifts for you moving into this year. Be open to those situations. And know that, your dreams really can come true, but you're definitely going to be still working on your psychology behind situations as later in the year, the nodes move into the house of Aries. So the signature's still there from the previous eclipse. It emotionally can come up to a degree, but it's going to come up later in the year as the node shift, where having the courage to jump in the deep end, sometimes having to look at a circumstance and say, okay, do I need to pull this right down and rebuild it again? That's okay. I do directly feel there can be major transitions happening in your love life, and that's for both singles and couples. So hold on to your hats. Feel free to book a reading so I can look at your chart individually, and I wish you the best in that department. Now, career, big purpose changes. You may be during this time, if you have felt like you've been pixelated, pulling in different directions, not really feeling you were finding that niche market that you wanted to be in, or that role that you directly resonated with, or where you were going. Pluto moving retrograde is going to give you that opportunity to have a little bit of an easier ride, but it's going to bring some revelations to the surface. Is there fair-based frequency? Is there not throwing caution to the wind because you are defined by a circumstance, or you have bills and you just can't transition? You're going to be thinking about this in the background of how you can do that transition, what that purpose is, what that direction. Sometimes it can be society's expectations. If you are running a business, it can be a time where you're reworking structures, you're reviewing situations and getting to the root cause of maybe how things tick and why they work. It can benefit you. This also can relate to debt, shared resources. It can be a subject really happening around partnerships and, what a person has, what they can give you. Sometimes we go into this notion that there are limited resources, whereas there's always somebody who's going to want to buy a service. So it's about looking at that if you are a business owner. I especially feel where it does come to your career, there can be pay rises for a lot of you, but I do think at the moment you're going to have to navigate that very carefully. Money also and building your wealth is something you're quite goal orientated with, and there can be quite a bit coming in at the moment, but I would save some for a rainy day as Mercury moves direct and Jupiter transit signs. I do see you wanting to change your status at work, and there is an opportunity here. So putting the best foot forward, really kind of showing your shine is going to give you that door. So be open to it and don't be surprised if you get opportunities from the most unlikely locations. Now, your wealth sector is set to increase, but you are also, for some of you, you can be really planning a goal this year. So it could be that you want to get married. It might be that you want to save for a house. It's going to be something large, but whatever this is, be it it's how can I explain it? Networking with new individuals, changing your friendship circle, changing the direction of business, changing the way you are spending your cash. It is going to be more structured, and by having it structured, you're going to find more success. I do particularly feel you're going to have more income coming until about the 20th, and then you may have some expenses where it does come to cars, where it does come to socializing and things to that degree. But in the interim, there can initially be some lady luck, especially where it does come to something really landing on your lap. This could also be a lottery. Now, your wellness during the month, you do need to look after your throat chakra, and you're the second zodiac sign that I did have. Collectively, yes, Mercury retrograded is throat chakra. Diet and eating, you can find that as Jupiter enters your zodiac, it is the first house placement. I've actually seen Jupiter. Jupiter does a few things. It's supposed to be quite a positive thing. If you were literally surrounding yourself with very negative situations, this could be use of pacifiers, use of overindulgence of anything, like in a food pyramid. They always say, okay, the top of it is limited, the bottom of the triangle is more. So that can be your vegetables, and then the higher into it you go, it's like, okay, sugar less. That's just one example. If that pyramid is off kilter and it's the opposite way around, where it's lots of fats, lots of salts, lots of pacifiers, then the triangle, to a degree, Jupiter is going to magnify that situation. The one way I have seen Jupiter play out is that it can make you gain weight. The one way you can counteract that, say to yourself, look, this transit's for a year, but it also expands your horizons. It could be that you are going to have expanded horizons, buckling down, working so hard that you're eating on the run, and it naturally increases your energy. It could be if you're joining a gym, you could really be quite obsessed by clothing this year. I will say that. You can be obsessed by image, but the other side note too could be to counteract it, to counterbalance it, wear loose clothing. Because what tends to happen is weight can be gained during that transit. It's a bit of a bugger. I know. It has happened to me. If it's in your sixth house, for instance, it can increase health issues. And it can also be that you're just buckling down and working really hard, and, you're getting a lot done. But in the first house and the second, there are potentials of these situations happening. So over the next 2 years, I would say by having a structured routine, by caring for your health, you're going to be able to eliminate that as an issue. What other things can I say about health? I could say you could be eating on the run at the moment due to your schedule. I would say for all zodiac signs, including you, during Mercury retrograde, to check all use by dates. Make sure the surface is clear, and be careful of meat and its use by date. There may be some recalls that do come into play, so make sure to keep an eye on that. Use green goods, use healthy organic things that you may be growing in your garden. We also can have resource issues moving into the following month as Mercury goes direct. Now, if you do want a private booking and you want me to look directly at your zodiac sign and you have a particular question, this can also be cross-referencing between you and a romantic interest, you and a business project. Feel free to find me online at Yildiz Readings, all information below, and I can give you a hand there. Take care, beautifuls, and I wish you the very best for this very successful transit for your zodiac sign.